Good morning, traders. Steve Ganz here with another trade that's going to be a start to finish trade. Now, this trade is a little bit of an anomaly in my mind because the reward to risk ratio is, quite frankly, kind of off the charts. I was just poking around on through some ETFs and stuff this morning, and the EWZ ETF, which, if my memory serves me correctly, is the Brazilian ETF, if I'm not mistaken. But it showed up with a crazy good reward to risk ratio on a butterfly trade for that expires at the end of next week. I mean, this thing has right now, if I could get filled at this price, and that's the big question mark here. I will tell you that I went and put on a very similar trade to this, and it did fill at an amazingly good price. It wasn't quite this good, but it's something worth, if this is a trade that's of interest to you, you should certainly take a look at it, model it yourself. I will share the link down below to this specific trade. But I am going to do this as a start to finish trade. Now, I'm going to do this in a 10 lot, and just because the reward to risk is so good on this thing. I mean, right now, for example, it was just showing, okay, so for a 10 lot, it's showing a potential gain of almost $1,000, a max loss of $5. Now, that's if I were to get filled at the price that it's showing here, which I doubt that would happen. And what's important to note, we come in here and we look at these. So the bid-ask spread here is, I don't know what that is, 7 cents. So, it's using a mid-price of 66 cents. That makes sense, reasonable. I would expect a single option to fill there. We look here, and we're only 2 cents wide, so the 12-cent fill there is certainly likely. Let me recenter this here. Our put, here we've got almost a 9-cent wide, but again, we're using a $1.33 fill, which I think is mid and going to be likely. And then this one here, we're only 2 cents wide. So, bottom line is, I think that we would be close to getting an actual fill here. So I'm going to go ahead and save this trade. And again, this is a butterfly trade. I am not intending to try to manage this if this goes against me. I will accept whatever the max loss is if this trade goes crazy against me. I'm going to make a note here that this had a crazy good reward to risk ratio. But had a couple strikes with wider bid-ask spreads. So what that means, we have to also understand, when we have a wider bid-ask spread, if we get filled on this at a good favorable price, which I would hope to do here, that also means that when we're looking at our P&L in this trade, the P&L is going to show at times a little bit oddly. It's going to show like we're maybe more profitable than we actually might be if we were to get a fill. Or in some cases, it might show that we're, losing a little more than we actually might be losing, again, because of that bid-ask spread. Now, my game plan on this trade is going to be to try to take this off at around a 25% profit, somewhere in that general range. Now, Fed is going to be talking today and tomorrow. That may very well drive this one direction or the other. If we look at a price chart, here's the EWZ price chart. It did have a pretty sizable gap up. Does appear to be rolling over, so it wouldn't surprise me if this dropped back down into the 32.5, 32 range, somewhere in there. But, that's still almost within this tent. So again, I'm willing to take that risk at this point. It's not out of the question also that if the market were to drop, I may, if I can get another cheap tent like this, another cheap butterfly, I'm not sure that I wouldn't add on another lower butterfly and cover a wider range of this spectrum as well. That's another possibility. So anyhow, that's going to be a new start-to-finish trade that I'm going to open here that I found just by looking through optionstrat, just kind of going through a series of ETFs, and this thing popped up, and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? I like it, and then I was able to actually get a fill at very close to these prices, which surprised the heck out of me. So that's it for now. Take care, everyone. Okay, so while I was uploading and preparing the video that I just did on EWZ, I noticed that my P&L jumped up to about $80, $90 on this trade. So again, as I had mentioned when I talked about putting this trade on, I specifically mentioned that this is going to get a little weird from a standpoint of wide bid-ask spreads. So those wide bid-ask spreads are sometimes going to show some somewhat bogus returns here. And that's because of that bid-ask spread widening out. So how do you deal with this? Well, the key to dealing with this, if it were a live trade, again, I am not recommending live trades. I always recommend paper trades. But if someone were to do something like this in a live trade, you need to float a good till cancel order out there to close your trade, or what I will often do is to close a portion of my trade, maybe close half my trade at a price that I would like to close it at my profit target. And that order is a good till cancel order that just sets out there. Many times when price starts bouncing around like this, all of a sudden I get taken out. So that's just kind of a little, I don't know, I guess you'd call it a best practice, particularly if you're dealing with a wider bid-ask spread. I also am very, very careful to not get into trades with wider bid-ask spreads unless I'm prepared to not be able to adjust them. Again, as I mentioned in the opening of this trade, I'll ride this one no matter what happens. If I take my $10 loss, I take my $10 loss, so be it. But if this trade had the potential of a much larger loss to where I was going to maybe need to try to adjust it, and the bid-ask spreads are wide, I steer clear of that trade. Anything that I would have to be forced to adjust when bid-ask spreads are wide, I'm out. Don't want to go there. So I wanted to just add this little caveat because I told you that could happen. And right after I shut down the other video, I saw it happening. So I'm putting this on as an addendum to that initial video I recorded just to illustrate to everyone how this can happen. So that's it. Just wanted to add that piece of information.